In this lesson, we're just going to go back over some of the content that we've already covered in the first 5 sessions. So when you are in a live anger management group, we check in with our highest level on our anger meter and report back on our anger awareness record and kind of go over each one of those categories as part of the check-in procedure. So think about what strategies did you employ this week to reduce your anger and keep yourself from getting to that 10? And did you use your ABCD model in the past week to maybe get a better control on your anger? If you have been using these techniques, I would really like for you to report it down in the comments section below. So in this section, we're going to review the anger management material we've covered so far. I'm going to review each concept and kind of clarify some things for you. Talking about some of the anger myths, changing the anger habit, the anger meter, triggers for anger, and the list can just go on and on. So one of the myths, we know all of these are myths here, that the behavioral expression of anger is fixed and can't be changed. We know that some things are hereditary, like the way that we move or, the sound of our voice, but how we're responding to events is definitely under our control. So it's not fixed and we can change it. The second myth is that anger automatically leads to aggression, and that's not true. We know that to be false. Anger does not have to lead to aggression. The third myth is that people must be aggressive to get what they want. It does help in the short term. Obviously, there's some apparent payoffs in the short term, but over the long term, you're just not going to get what you want over the long term because you're going to end up damaging relationships. And then the fourth myth, venting anger is always desirable. Not necessarily. We know that not to be true. And not only is the behavioral expression of anger learned, it can become routine and familiar and a predictable response to a different variety of situations. So, like I said, in the short term, you're going to get your way. But in the long term, it's not really going to help you out. And we have to become aware of our anger and develop some skills and strategies to manage it. And it's going to help us stop the escalation of the anger before we experience those negative consequences. So having that anger control plan is going to give you some immediate and interpersonal and preventive strategies. Some of those are going to be like taking a timeout, deep breathing exercises, thought stopping, strengthening your assertive communication, your problem solving skills, developing exercise programs, and changing your maladaptive beliefs. And when you get angry, it's because of your interpretation of events that has provoked you. And now you have to look out for these red flags. And these are maybe some of the long-standing issues that you've had that easily lead to your anger. And so a new trigger to anger that has emerged over the last decade is that bad online behavior. We talked about that in one of the lessons. So usually these anger-related events involve other people who get in the way of achieving our goals, but sometimes we might treat inanimate objects like they're people who are trying to interfere with our plans or goals, like that car breaking down or the cell phone service not or going out when you're on an important call. And so all of those, the past events we can get angry about, but we can also get angry about stuff that's happening like right here and right now. And so maybe you're late for the bus, and so you're going to get angry about it, or you have to wait a long time, or somebody says something that hurts your feelings, or you have to clean up after someone else, or maybe somebody around you is being inconsiderate, or you have to deal with a frustrating customer, or a situation on the internet, or the internet goes down in the middle of you trying to do something like a Zoom call or something. So there's 4 kinds of anger cues. We have the physical cues. This is the way our bodies respond when we become angry. Maybe tightness in the chest or feeling hot. Then we have the emotional cues that happen along with the anger. So maybe we feel abandoned, afraid, discounted, disrespected, insecure, or rejected. So these are our underlying feelings. And so anger is the secondary emotion. There's usually some underlying emotion there that is causing the anger. The cognitive cues that are happening in response to the anger related event, these are our thoughts. This is the way that we're perceiving the event. Maybe we interpret a friend's comment as criticism, or we interpret the actions of other people as like humiliating or controlling. And this is the self-talk that we're telling ourselves. And sometimes it can be maladaptive self-talk. And then we have the cognitive cues. I feel like I missed one, or maybe I just did that. So the cognitive cues are the self-talk, the things that we're telling ourselves. So we have to be able to identify, the way that we're thinking about things, how we're perceiving it, how we actually feel, and what are we doing behaviorally, and catch those physical warning signs as they're coming up. And all of these are going to be great ways to determine what level of anger am I at right now. When I start seeing these cues, I can back down, go take my time out, do my deep breathing or my relaxation techniques, and calm myself down. So this is the anger awareness record. This is going to help you to keep track of those anger cues, keep track of your anger meter ratings, and what strategies are working best for you. Then your anger control plan is just a piece of paper that just says anger control plan on it, and it's going to list out all of the things that you can do in the moment to calm yourself down when you start to feel angry. This is going to be your personal plan. The first thing on there needs to be a timeout. So what are some of these different strategies that are actually working for you? This is your plan is your toolbox, and each of those things that you're listing on there are going to be your tools for managing your anger. And when it comes to social support, we all need to seek support and feedback from people that we trust to support us. So we need to have a very solid plan of who we're going to contact for support when we need it, especially when our anger is rising. Who can you call? Who can you talk to? And how do you plan on reaching out to these people for that help? Are you going to call them? Are you just going to go over to their house? How are you going to get in touch with them? It's very important that you get specific and write this down on your anger control plan. We can also do our deep breathing exercises. If you want, there's a link to the deep breathing exercise that's about to pop up. Feel free to click on that and do your deep breathing exercises. We also talked about the aggression cycle, how we are experiencing all of those physical and behavioral cues in that build-up phase, and then we have the explosion, which is the verbal aggressiveness or the destructiveness or the violence, and then we have the aftermath. We get fired, we get into an argument, we go to jail, whatever happens. There's some sort of consequence that happens in that aftermath. The key here is to start identifying these red flags that are coming up, that are telling you that you're building up, and stop it before it even gets to the explosion phase, which is a 10 on your anger meter, so there is no aftermath. That's the key here. The key would be never reaching a 10. We don't want to reach a 10. And that could be a reasonable goal to aim for, is just not reaching a 10. Nobody could say, oh, well, don't get angry. Anger is a natural emotion. But we can aim for not reaching that 10, not having that explosion, and not having to deal with the aftermath. We also talked about progressive muscle relaxation. You can use this to calm yourself down when you feel yourself getting angry. And we also discussed the ABCD model, the activating event. Something happens, and then we have a belief about whatever that thing was. And sometimes that belief is maladaptive or irrational, and that can lead to negative consequences. And so the key here is to dispute those maladaptive or irrational thoughts so that we can have the E, which is a better effect. We can calm down. And then we also learned about thought stopping. This is just telling yourself like, hey, don't go there. I'm going to get in trouble if I keep doing this or thinking this way, or I'm not going to buy into this situation. I'm not going to argue with these people. In other words, instead of trying to dispute your thoughts and beliefs, as we outlined in the ABCD model, this is just kind of stopping your current pattern of angry thoughts before it leads to an escalation of anger.